Welcome to my 220-gallon aquarium. This is kind of gonna be a brief tank walk and some info about the cabinetry because I've had multiple requests now. Might be a little hard to see in here. This is a small room, and I'm doing this on my phone, so this is pretty much as zoomed out as I can get. Aquarium is a 220-gallon crystal dynamic. It's eurobraced, which is a little bit hard to tell. Kind of a double layer. Hard to see now that it's all been skinned up. Running 5 GHL mitras. Got a shelf up there for more electronics. Mostly the power supplies for the lights and the gyre 280s. Oh, that's Buttercup. She's very, very friendly. Awesome fish. Chompers and bones. And then the other 4 fish are sleeping. They're leopard wrasses and have buried themselves for the night already. At any rate, people were asking how the cabinetry was done. So if you look in here, there's actually no frame. The cabinetry was all from a local custom cabinet maker. Probably hearing a lot of water noise from the overflow. Should quiet down when some algae starts growing in there. At any rate, I got this as really just like the front facing with the doors. So this front piece was just one piece. Obviously the crown molding was not part of that. That was done after. And then for the sides, we used essentially just refrigerator panels that were cut to size on site. And then pocket holes were drilled and some screws run, and then after we got it all in place, it was siliconed so that the screws don't rust. And this might be hard to see with all the blue light right now, but up at the top here, let's see, can I change? I probably can't. No, of course not. I was going to turn on. Oh, here we go. I have a light. See if that helps. All right, so at the top you can see there's a strip of wood that runs along the ceiling. That's bracing for this face with the doors. So it's attached to the face of the canopy is attached to that wooden strip up there, and then obviously the wooden strip is attached to the joists. There's we put some extra wood up in the attic to support all of this. It's overkill, but it helps me sleep better at the end of the day. And then there's also I think there's a 1x10 that's run lengthwise, which helps to mount like all of the other stuff, like the lights. And then right there, that cord coming down is for it's an inline fan that's really more typically used for like radon or kitchen venting. It's super quiet. It flows about 100 cubic feet per minute. You can't even hear it. That's the duct for it, and the fan's actually quite far away. It's a good probably 8 feet away from here, so don't really get any noise. I had to cut out all of the little plastic that was in the middle there because it was making like kind of like a whistling noise, which was pretty annoying. With it being wide open, it's actually I can't hear it over all this like trickling water and other stuff going on right now. We've got an energy bar up there, and there is low voltage plate that lets us run like a USB cable from there all the way down to the sump area. And then sticking with the whole cabinetry thing, something similar was done for the base cabinets. The front of this cabinet was a single piece, so it was the face with the doors, and that was it. It didn't come with the sides. The sides were refrigerator panels that were cut to size on site, and just like for the canopy, it was, well, you can't see it now because it's blocked by the steel stand, but there were pocket holes drilled and then screwed, and so it made kind of like a big U shape from the left side, the front face, and then the right side. And we also put some, this might be, you can see these big beefy magnets here, if it'll focus, okay. So these were also screwed to the face because we needed a little bit of support for this long run of cabinetry, so that it wouldn't like flex away from the stand. We wanted to stay tight against the stand, or I wanted to stay tight against the stand. So I noticed that there was a gap here anyways, because this center support is actually a little bit thinner than this top beam. That allowed us to just use, I think it was like a 1/4 inch very strong magnet, like one of the 50-pound or 75-pound pole magnets, and that's screwed to the facing. So we have this U shape with the magnets in the center brace. Slid it into place, and it just snapped into place and held there nicely. Just to be extra cautious though, these side panels, you can see it here, are actually screwed through this, what was originally like a refrigerator panel. It's screwed through to the side cabinet, right? So it's not going to just pull away. We would have to, I'd have to like unscrew all of those and maybe be able to wiggle it free, but given the order that we did it in, it's not really meant to be pulled apart anymore. But there's only one support. It's pretty open. That's most of the cabinetry stuff. You've got the side cabinets with some nice white countertop here. It's the man-made stuff, so it's non-porous. One thing that I kind of wish that I thought of is making this flush with the facing, because this ended up being like you know, you can see the silicone line from the front. When you look at the side, it's not too bad though, because we taped this and then tried to inject as much silicone as possible, so you largely can't see like an air bubble except for like a few flaws here and there. You can see a little bit back there where we couldn't inject the silicone all the way down, but it's not a big deal. It's the very bottom. The tank's starting to enter the slightly ugly phase here. Some diatoms coming in. You can't really see with the actinic lighting going on here. Let me flip this light down and see if that helps. Hey, look at that. The rocks were cooking downstairs in a 50-gallon bin for a while. I had actually, there are a couple pieces of Pucani, like this guy and that guy over there. There's some more pieces in here as well. I can't really tell them apart now anymore. I think these are all these two on the top at least are also Bucani. At any rate, those got bleached first for like a week, and then put in salt water to just cook. But you can see there's some diatoms and algae starting to go, and I put some Vibrant in to see if the ugly phase will be less ugly. We'll see. I don't have any cleanup crew in here right now. They were being quarantined downstairs. I already failed quarantine because this guy, or she actually, went through copper treatment at one of my local fish stores. I did measure one of the samples of the QT, and the copper levels were therapeutic, so that's great. These little clowns, I got them and put them through copper treatment, which was super easy with the Hanna high range copper checker. They did great. I also gave them a dose of Prazipro. But then, as most people do, I kind of screwed up, and I saw someone posting a breakdown, and they had 4 leopard wrasses that were happily living together. A Cutieri, an Ornate, Milagros, and I'm suddenly forgetting the last one. Oh, a Potters. So those are 4 pretty rare wrasses, pretty tough to get them acclimated. And he had them acclimated in his tank, and I purchased all 4. I didn't want to put them through QT because I only have 2 20-gallon tanks, and I didn't think that was going to be large enough for them. So in they went after a quick freshwater dip, and of course the next morning is like I realized my stupidity when I noticed a couple of ick spots on the Potters, and so we'll see what happens here. There's not many fish in here, so hopefully it'll run its course and the fish will have some immunity, but we'll see what happens with the next fish. I don't think I'm going to drag everyone out of here. Everyone seems to be doing well. I am running a very large UV sterilizer. It's the 50 watt high output Pentair. And it's on a loop. It's pretty hard to tell with the Refugium light on right now, but anyways, there's a Varios 8 back there, which is also a backup for my Return, which is also a Varios 8. The loop pump over here, which is what I call it, since it just runs a loop in the sump. The loop pump pumps up through the 50 watt UV sterilizer, and that output goes to my heater back here, which is a Aqualogic. I think it's a rebranded Signet. I forget now. It's a 500 watt inline heater. I was looking for something a heater that didn't suck as much, and this is what I found. While I was plumbing it, I was really regretting it though, because I had major problems trying to get these, not the union to seal, but right after the union. It's really hard to tell, but there's it's like a universal adapter which threads in, so it's just sealed by the threads. Well, I tried to do it the right way and use like Rectoseal or what's the other stuff, Plastostick. Yeah, those both leak like crazy, and I ended up going back to what I knew and using cleaning it off and using silicone, and sure enough the silicone sealed after I let it just cure for a day. Had the same problem over here, and then my other leaks were the unions are out. You can see how badly I have marred this up because I kept taking it on and off and on and off. Anyways, this is a 2-inch flow sensor from Neptune, and I could not get this thing to seal between the actual flow sensor and again this like sort of universally adapter, and ended up taking it on and off again, rector seal, then plasti stick, and finally just gave up and went back to silicone, and sure enough the silicone sealed it. So here we are, all sealed up. It's actually, since we're down at the sump area, we rewind here. So it's a bean animal setup. They're all 1-inch drains, which is enough flow for what I want to do. And then they dump here, and you can see I actually added the 1-inch bulkheads, because the sump, which is a Precision Marine R48 Pro Plus, it's basically like 48 inches long, and the unique thing is it's super wide. It's I think it's 24 inches wide from front to back, so it's quite a big sump. I think it holds like 70 gallons in total. So those 1-inch bulkheads were added by me. It came with like, I think, 1.5 inches or so. I can get this lid on. Oh, whoops, there's things on here. Oh, and this is the first tank that I've had where there's a canopy, and about 2 weeks ago, actually closer to 3 weeks now, I was crouched down and I stood up quickly and hit this open canopy door and gave myself a concussion. So I think I'm fully recovered from that now, but that hurt, and yeah, don't do that. So now I'm super paranoid about the canopy doors. All right, let's see. Wow, this video is way longer than I expected. All right, so here's the water flowing in. I'll try to explain some of this goofiness going on here. I've got these filter sock silencers. That's what you're looking at, and then in the middle there's like a giant hole where like noise comes right through. So I just stuffed some filter floss in there to help quiet down the noise. Same thing here. And I also did something slightly unique where the filter sock, I zip tied it very close to the top so that the water wouldn't crash down. It would sort of follow the mesh filter sock down instead of like crashing down a couple inches. It's just kind of unfortunate that there's such a high difference in water level between where the water enters the sump back there and where the filter socks, the chamber for the filter sock is. And that's going to cause a bunch of noise. I suppose if you have clogged fine mesh filter socks, then that difference in level shouldn't be that high and it won't be as noisy, but that's not how I run it. So the other thing that was interesting is that, so you can see that's how much water I'm running. And when I first got my 2-inch flow meter set up, I was showing like 175 gallons per hour, and that didn't sound right at all. Eventually I figured out that it's because it was actually the base unit thought it was the FMM thought it was a 1-inch sensor, not a 2-inch sensor. So as soon as I flipped it to a 2-inch sensor, it registered the correct amount, and it's pumping about 750 gallons per hour, and it's only on 2 out of 6 for the on the Varios 8. I tried more, but things just get super noisy, and also it's really close to the Euro bracing. I don't really want to run more. And I think if I run any more, I'm going to be like splashing on top of the lower Euro brace. So it seems like a bad idea. Anyway, 750 gallons for a 220 gallon aquarium is pretty good. I'm not going to go crazy with the flow through the sump. It's just going to get noisier too. All right, so super long video. I'm going to try and speed it up here. Bubble King 200 RD. I don't remember which model this is actually. Double cone 200. Right, so this goofiness here is because I got tired of my sump area stinking, because this is my home office room. It's small, about 10 by 11 room. So this is just like 3/8 inch John Guest fittings and 3/8 tubing. Fit perfectly into the lid without any modification. This is like a takeout container. Cut a hole in it to help hold the carbon bag in place, and the carbon bag also keeps the carbon from going into the tubes. And the odor has reduced dramatically, and really, like, you can't really smell it anymore. Didn't seem to reduce the effectiveness of the skimmer, so happy with that. And the bubble level crashed because I fed mysis this evening, so it's going back up. Probes, normal stuff. Oh, more unique stuff. Well, there's the calcium reactor that I haven't hooked up yet. Over there, also, the silver duct is an inline fan, which is drawing air out of the sump area and pushing it into our like mudroom, laundry room. I've got a filter stuffed in the duct as well, so we don't end up with like a stinky utility room. So that valve that's labeled salt over there is a 1-inch pipe that runs down to the basement into the sort of fish life support area. I make it's the mixing station down there, along with the quarantine tanks and other stuff. Those blue lines, and there's also well, I'm not going to go over there right now, but there's also another USB line so that I can plug in another EB832 downstairs and have it hooked up to this same Apex system, so I can control a whole bunch of stuff. Anyways, at the mixing station, I've got a Seche SDC 9.0. I can like Wi-Fi pump, Wi-Fi control the pump. So I don't have an ATO on here yet. I was waiting for my contractor to run all these tubes and lines and stuff down to the mixing station area so that I could hook the ATO up and draw up from the RODI reservoir. So right now what I do is I open that, I adjust the valves appropriately downstairs, and then this guy I can pump RODI into the sump. Here's my bowl of Kato. One thing that I did was that there's that loop for the heater goes through a 1-inch flow sensor so that I can get the right rate for the well, really both the heater and the UV sterilizer. And I realized that the UV sterilizer will probably warm up the water a little bit prior to the heater, but it's not that big of a deal. So this outputs into the refugium area, and it helps to tumble the Kato. Right, so this goes to I need some more RODI in here. This goes to the Varios 8, which is the return pump. It's going to pump through this 2-inch flow sensor. I didn't really need these valves, it turns out. They're wide open all the time. I put them there sort of just in case, and why not? Anyways, these are the 1-inch returns that go back up and through the in-tank overflow. And it had to be in-tank because the back of this is the garage, and I don't want to eat into the garage area. This guy right here is it's BRS's CO2 scrubber, but that's not what I use it for. I have it run into, let's see if I can get it on video, that CPVC pipe right there. It's a 1/2-inch pipe that goes up to the attic and out to the soffit vents, just outside of the office. Maybe like a, I don't know, a 12-foot run. And that's to bring in fresh air. And because I'm paranoid, I run it through all this carbon. Even going through the carbon and the half-inch CPVC, I'm actually able to like breathe freely through the tubing, so it doesn't really affect the skimmer performance. That plus this thing didn't seem to really affect the skimmer too much. It pumps just fine, enough air. So I think that's a basic tank walkthrough. That's my master Mitra. I don't have these hooked up yet. I mean, I kind of do, but they're off. I'm going to put a controller on these fans so that it kicks in when things get hot in the canopy. But largely this exhaust fan helps keep the temperature down quite well. So that's it. Probably make more videos. If you've got questions about the canopy or anything else, let me know and I'll answer them. Thanks. Bye.